And welcome to the 12 Report with me, Lekon Onobanjo. Let's look at headlines now. Hundreds of passengers stranded at Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos over aviation union dispute. Security report flags political tension ahead of Saturday governorship election in Osun State. At least 132 killed in a 7.4 magnitude quake, several residents trapped under rubble in Colombia's largest earthquake in years. And we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country and beyond. Even as we have Bernard Akede and Mercy Babajide standing by in Osun State. Charles Pius joins from the Federal Capital Territory. Bettina Nweli joins from the State House. Israel Iferobo is in Lagos, while Afi Hagen joins from the United Kingdom. And I will bring you the details in a bit. The European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS has denied reports that it is withdrawing from observing Nigeria's 2027 general elections, saying it will instead deploy a 4-member electoral expert mission. In a statement signed by EU Ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Gauthier Mignot, the delegation said it was surprised by reports claiming it had rejected an invitation from INEC to observe the elections. The EU said it received INEC's formal invitation on April 17 and responded on July 28, confirming plans to deploy 2 to 4 independent electoral experts who will be accredited by INEC. The delegation also dismissed claims that insecurity or alleged hostility toward its observers after the 2023 election report influenced the decision. It urged journalists to verify EU positions directly with its press office, stressing that the decision will not affect its broader support for Nigeria's democratic and electoral processes. And still relating to what's happening in Osun State, where the political tempo is rising ahead of the August 15 governorship election. Governor Ademola Adeleke and party leaders have intensified their campaign ahead of the August 15, 2026 governorship election. A mega campaign rally in Osogbo attracted high-profile political figures, including a visit to the Ooni of Ife, His Imperial Majesty, Oba Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi, who also offered prayers for Governor Adeleke, while calling for a peaceful, credible and successful election across the state. With just days to the polls, political parties are stepping up their mobilization efforts as the final countdown to the governorship election gathers momentum. The August 15 election is expected to draw keen attention as the major contenders make their final push to secure the mandate of the people of Osun. And I will tell you that a combined team of the Army, Air Force and Navy, Police and other security agencies has embarked on a show of force through Osogbo, the Osun State capital, to Ilesha. The operation follows reports of violence in parts of the state, allegedly resulting in the deaths of at least 3 people, as authorities move to reassure residents and prevent further escalation. And now News Central's lead correspondent Bernard Akede joins us for more on this, even as we'll also be talking to Mercy Babajide in a short while. Bernard, let me start with you. You are currently in the convoy of the security operative displaying a show of force in Osun State. Where does that leave us? Because we're hearing that there has been a move from Osogbo to Ilesha and some other places where apparently some people were said to have been killed. Tell us more about this.
All right, thank you, Lekon. Well, we currently are still on that convoy, and at any moment now, we may have to move. So should that happen, you would have to permit me. I would have to get into the vehicle. The security operatives have told us that they do not want to leave us behind. So like you have said, yes, we got the information that about 3 people may have been killed yesterday, resulting from electoral violence, and the security operatives have decided that they would take their trail of show of force from Osogbo into Ilesha and other parts. The Commissioner of Police and some of the other operatives did eventually get to the location where these people, or at least one of them, was said to have been killed. There have been disparities. Some say the killings may be linked to electoral violence. Others have said that it may just be cult clashes. Until the investigations are concluded, we cannot exactly say what has led to these killings. But, you know, coincidentally, this is happening around the time, you know, when the election is just a few days away. So the Governor of Police has said that they believe, or he believes, that the state will be well secured and protected before, during, and of course after the election.
Bernard, before I let you go, now we are looking at the convoy, and this number of the vehicles we are seeing and the security operatives, I must say, is quite intimidating. So, in your own opinion, do you actually think this will be enough to ward off violence before and during the forthcoming election?
Well, excuse me, Leko, you used the right word. Intimidating is what anybody who sees this convoy, is the adjective that you would use. With this number of security operatives, bear in mind that this is not just the police, like what was done last week. This is a combined effort by the police, the army, the navy, even the Air Force. And then we have the NSCDC, we have the Federal Road Safety Corps. I mean, for anybody who would decide to come out and perpetrate any kind of electoral violence during the election, you must be a brave person. Seeing this trail of convoy that's going around, I want to believe that with the right deployment, there should be adequate security provided by all these security personnel that we're seeing on ground. But then again, election is election. We still get to have, and again from experience that we've seen, we still get to have certain persons who try, once in a while to perpetrate some kind of electoral violence. Again, like I said, such people will be quite brave following what we have seen today to decide to do any of such. So I would want to believe that there should be, adequate security around the election. Hope is the word again. We hope that this security detail, will be strong enough to ward off any kind of violence come the election on August 15th.
All right, thank you so much, Bernard Adeleke, for sharing these details with us. Let's now talk to Mercy Babajide. Tell us where you are and what the situation is as regards the people, the election that is coming, and the security situation in that area.
Okay, hello. The video you just saw about 2 minutes ago was a video of the Nigerian army going through the center of Osogbo, where there was a major show of force. I mean, we saw about 10 to 15 vehicles move around, and they were beating the bells just to show that, yes, this election is going to be a no-nonsense one, and it looks like they are not ready or willing to take any violence of whatsoever. But earlier on today, we were at a civil society organization gathering, Justice Development and Peacemakers Center in Osogbo here, where they spoke about the fact that they want peace and they want major stakeholders to equally be involved in this election, not just the political parties. And they've tracked about 538 political campaigns since the election campaign started, and sensitization of 152 were from all sectors, from both INEC, basically all the electoral umpire. But then let's move away from that and get reactions from the people. Right now, I'll be talking to Mr. Musbao, and he would be telling me about what he feels about the election, because before we came out from the civil society gathering, we received pictures from one of the APC media aid, where he spoke about how 3 people were shot down in Ilesha, and these persons are said to be APC members. And of course, like Bernard earlier said, he spoke about how the CP is, of course, on ground at Ilesha. But then let's take the reactions of Mr. Musbao. Mr. Musbao, Eka Sansa. Kí ni reaction yìí sí kí ni reaction yìí sí rògbòdìyàn àti gidigbo tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Ọ̀ṣun kí election yìí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ níjọ́ Saturday?
Adúpẹ́ ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba. Ọlọ́run bá ló ní gbogbo ọpẹ́. Ẹni tí a kàn bẹ àwọn olórí wa ni pé the way bí wọ́n ṣe bá handle Òṣogbo, kàn bá handle other town tó tún round Òṣogbo, kàn bá handle ẹ̀ náà bẹ́ẹ̀, security pọ̀ lóṣogbo, kàn bá rántí àwọn ìlú kéréje tó tún wà tó súnmọ́ Òṣogbo, so that irú àlàáfíà tó wà nílùú Òṣogbo yóò lè wà láwọn ìlú náà. Láàárọ̀ ẹ̀ kò tí ì pẹ́ tá a gbọ́ ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Iléṣà. bá a dẹ̀ ṣe ń gbọ́ ní gbogbo ìgbà nìyẹn a kàn bẹ̀ wọ́n ni a rọ̀ wọ́n ni a fógun a fẹ́ wàhálà níbi election yìí àwa làá fi ọkàn ara wa làá fi yàn fún ẹni tó bá wù wá kì í ṣe pé bóyá wọn fọ́ọ̀sì wa láti pé ya ẹ lọ tẹ̀ka pé léyìí because ebi ń pa wá nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà we are hungry ebi ń pa wá so àti gbogbo wa àti mọ tá a ṣe Ọlọ́run sì yàn fún wa Ọlọ́run ni ó yàn ẹni tá a fẹ́ fún wa tí ó rọ̀ wá ebi tó ń pa wá tí ó bá rọ̀ wá ntaari níbẹ̀ nìyẹn.
Well, translating what he said that of course they have heavy security operatives in Osogbo, but then he would like to implore that they of course push this out to other towns in Osun State, given that Osogbo is of course the state capital, but then he said all the neighboring towns, they equally need heavy security operatives, because it feels like because Osogbo is safe, most of the towns at the outskirts are no longer safe for people because there is no heavy presence of the security operatives in most of those towns. And he said come the elections, God willing, they would of course come out to vote for who they feel and who they want to vote for. Over to you in the studio.
All right, Mercy, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. Of course, before I let you go, Bernard, I don't know if I can just quickly take this. Now, what would you say the focal message has been within the camps of the governor and the political stalwarts of various parties that have even visited the Imperial Majesty, the Ooni of Ife, because we know how influential and instrumental these traditional institutions are when it comes to certain narratives around election and having a peaceful exercise in the country?
Thank you. And that is indeed a very good question, Leko. We know that Osun State is a very traditional state. First of all, Ile-Ife is here in Osun State, you know, the seat, like they say, of the Yoruba kingdom. There was the Osogbo festival here while we were here. So there's a lot of traditional activities and, of course, involving a lot of traditional leaders. Now, the governor himself, alongside the other political leaders here, are joining hands with the traditional leaders and, I must say, religious leaders as well, encouraging them to speak to their people, knowing how influential they are and how influential they can be in terms of ruling the land here. And so, of course, going through them, the governor and other politicians are asking that they speak to their people and their followers to ensure that violence will not be the activity come the election. Also trying to use them to galvanize votes in any way that they can, ensuring that the people come out, you know, and participate in the election that is forthcoming. They are concerned about voter apathy because of the kind of violence that we're beginning to see. So yes, these traditional leaders are going to be quite instrumental in terms of galvanizing the voters to come out on August 15th to cast their vote.
Thank you so much, Bernard Akede, and of course, Mercy Babajide once again. Definitely we'll circle back to the both of you. You're doing a fantastic job, I must say, anyway, covering pre-election, and we know that you are going to be there for this election, of course, cycle that will be going down in Osun State, and definitely we'll have you share more of the details with us and with our viewers, of course, watching the channel. Let's move on now. Still in Osun State anyway, pre-election security risk assessment in the state has raised concerns over a significant rise in violence ahead of Saturday's governorship election, recording a 206% increase in violence between 2022 and 2026. The assessments conducted using a mixed method approach involving 3,275 respondents across the state's 30 local government areas and across party lines, also tracked print and social media activities to examine the intersection between political security and social activities. The report identifies party-related activities, mining disputes, and criminality as drivers of election-related violence, and says that challenges with PVC collection, BVAS failures, and poor distribution of electoral materials can further heighten tension on election day.
The assessment used a mixed method multi-source framework. It draws on a citizen survey of 3,275 respondents across 30 local government areas in Osun State, 15 key informat interview spanning political actor, political party, chairmen, security agencies, traditional institutions, women, and youth leaders, civil society, media, and electoral stakeholders. Continuous incident monitoring from October 2025 to August 2026.
This is what electoral violence looks like in 2022, and this is what it is now in 2026. The percentage increase is actually 206%. So it shows that we are currently in a context that is totally different from 2022. And a lot of things were around this, the competitiveness of the elections, the disposition of the actors, and I mean, I could also say maybe the word do or die will be too far, but in terms of their disposition to what is happening in the state and to winning the election is very important for us to understand.
You are live with us on the 12 Reports. We go on a break right now. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. Don't go away. Welcome back to the 12 Reports. Now, passengers have been left stranded at airports in Abuja and Lagos after aviation unions shut down operations of Air Peace in the early hours of Tuesday. The action followed a picketing exercise by the National Union of Air Transport Employees, the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, and the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers, all led by the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. The unions accused the airline of preventing workers from freely unionizing and failing to remit ticket sales charges owed to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. We also tell you that passengers scheduled to travel on Air Peace from the local wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos have been stranded following an industrial action by aviation workers. The air strike, the Air Transport Senior Staff Association of Nigeria says the action is linked to alleged restrictions on workers' rights to unionize. The union also alleges that the airline has failed to remit certain statutory levies owed to associations within the aviation sector. The development disrupted flight operations this morning, leaving passengers unable to reach their destinations. The union is demanding resolution of the issues before normal operations can resume. And joining us now on the news is News Central's correspondent Israel Ife-Robo. Israel, so what is the updates as regards the picketing at the airport?
Well, Leko, the update that I can give to you right now is that these passengers here at the MM1 here in Lagos, they are still stranded. There is no movement whatsoever. All the passengers who have earlier on booked to fly to different destinations via Air Peace today are still here, and nothing has been done so far. We understand that there are calls are being made, meetings are being fixed. The unions are having conversations with the authorities as well, but all of that hasn't come to anything for now. These people that have left their houses some since 4 a.m. are still here at airports, stranded with no end in sight to the situation, Lekon.
So as any of the representatives of the aviation leadership, have they addressed or spoken to any of the union members or maybe the passengers that are even stranded at the airports?
Oh, yes, indeed. That has been done. There are lots of, there are about 3 unions here that we have been able to speak to that are on the ground. There is the Air Transport Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. There is also the National Union of Air Transport Employees and also the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers. These are some of the associations that are on ground today picketing the counter of Air Peace, ensuring that no flight is being taken up today from Air Peace. They say that Air Peace is owing levies, and also the fact that they haven't allowed their workers to also join their preferred unions. These are some of the issues that we have been told resulted into what has happened here today. But let's talk to a passenger here who is stranded. His name is Samuel. Samuel is one of those that are also really angry about the situation here today. So Samuel, you're live on television. Yeah. I know you're not very happy about what's going on right now. No, how do you feel, Samuel?
Well, very, 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 very disheartening. The situation is so frustrating and is energy losing. I want to say that it is very, very not anticipated, because if there are industrial actions such as this, the airline supposed to inform the passengers. In this instance, the airpiece. But as at yesterday, they were still communicating to us that we have to fly this morning. To me, I see that very, very unprofessional and not too good. And again, on the aspect of the union, there are ways union and employers matters are resolved. You do not take to protest infinitum or without a definite end. At least they have spoken their mind. The government, the authority have heard their cry. They should equally allow the passenger have their way, because they do not have the entire absolute right. Where their right stops, that is where other people will begin. So another issue they raise is the issue of the airpiece being part of their union. I want to say, without missing words, it is not under any compulsion for an institution to belong to an association. Freedom of association is allowed. If they say they don't want to join the union, that is for the airpiece. They cannot force them to become a union member of the NUATE.
It is in the constitution that workers should join the union of their choice.
It is not in any constitution. If you look at the Nigerian constitution, it is very clear. Freedom of association. They have the right to associate with whosoever they want to associate with. So they cannot be coerced. You cannot be forced to join an association. That is one of the grounds upon which this protest is being taken on. But on the other hand, they are saying airpiece is not remitting what is supposed to be remitting. Now, that is between them and the airpiece and the government. That should not be, or the passenger should not bear the brunt of airpiece liability. So that's what I can see. But to be very honest, it is very, very damaging to my psychology. What I've experienced this morning, I've been in the airport at about after 5 a.m. and I'm still here. The situation does not even seem to resolving. So I don't even know where to go from here. So we are calling on the relevant authority to please intervene so that passengers can fly. There are those coming from abroad. There are those who have appointments, series of appointments at the council because of this union picketing. So I want to plead with the government to please intervene in this situation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Samuel. Well, indeed, Lekon, I've spoken to 2 nurses here today who were on their way to offer treatment to their patients outside Lagos. They are still here right now, and those patients are not attended to right now. There are people here also that are also ill, like we have been told. I haven't seen any, but there's 1 or 2 persons that have come to tell me that these people need to fly. But indeed, the stalemate that we are experiencing right now has affected a lot of activities here at the airport. One thing I was able to gather from the unions, from the associations here today, is the fact that tomorrow there will be a meeting. The authorities have called for a meeting between all the parties involved. We are just hoping to see how that meeting will pan out, and just maybe there will be an end to this picketing that we are experiencing here today, that has indeed left hundreds of passengers stranded today at the MM1. Lekon.
Well, thank you so much, Israel. It's quite sad and disheartening that people will be losing time and business, even money, as a result of this industrial action. But then we'll circle back to you in a bit. Let's take this conversation to Abuja, where we have Charles Pius standing by for updates. Charles, a pleasant day to you, though it might not be so pleasant for passengers stranded at the Abuja airport. Tell us more as regards to what's happening there right now.
We're at Abuja International Airport, where union leaders have picketed the airport, and it's largely because of the fact that the airlines, specifically Airpeace, have refused the claim to remit taxes. I'm talking about the ticket sales taxes. Apparently, there were a meeting earlier where they agreed that airlines were supposed to remit 5% of the ticket sales. That hasn't happened, they claim. And secondly, they claim that the Airpeace management have basically shut down the idea of their workers joining their union. And so because of that, they picketed these airports. Only just a few minutes ago, they are allowed the passengers to get into the airport. All through the morning, all the airlines were grounded. Now, let me just show you the environment where we are. Let me just show you what they put up here. Now, look at this. The strongest message, they said airlines need workers, workers need unions, aviation needs accountability, respect union rights, pay legitimate obligations, protect aviation workers. That's one of the messages they're actually putting out to the management of Air Peace. Let me also show you one of other messages that they have put out here. This one is 25 billion naira debts, pay what you owe, aviation industry, prioritize safety. Apparently, these are the comments. There are other messages cut across this particular location. Some seconds ago, a whole lot of persons were stranded. They were here, but only just recently they were allowed inside. And you can only imagine the stench or what it looks like right inside. I mean, missed airlines, missed opportunities, and who knows what happens afterwards. There are no words from aviation authorities or even union on reasons specifically why this is happening. The only statement that we're able to gather was a very short statement from NCAA asking that everyone sheath their sword, and hopefully when the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Management comes back, because he's out of the country, hopefully he would have these resolved. But again, they're also saying that some meetings were called last week, but aviation workers refused to attend that meeting, and I'm wondering why that is. But in due course, we'll find out details regarding these updates. It's back to you in the studio.
Much Charles Pius and of course Israel Ofero, but this is an unfolding situation. I will continue to bring details of it definitely to our viewers. In the meantime, let's tell you that the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has appealed to aviation unions to suspend their ongoing industrial action and return to negotiations as flight disruptions continue across the country. Away from that, we now tell you that a coalition of civil society organizations and health advocates in Nigeria have rejected the proposed National Tobacco Control Act Amendment Bill 2025, warning it could weaken existing safeguards and open the door for increased nicotine use across the country. Now we have the Central's correspondent, Bettina Imeli, who joins us live for more on this conversation. Bettina, what specific provisions are raising concerns among health advocates as regards these acts?
All right, so what these people are saying, Leko, basically that the bill allows for advertising, sponsorship, and even online sales of products like e-cigarettes and heated tobacco. Now, imagine a situation whereby there are no controls and anybody anywhere within the country can just wake up one day and decide that, oh, I want to start taking nicotine or I want to buy e-cigarettes, and there are no ways to stop that. Now, the coalition is arguing that before now, what has been going on in the country is that they have been fighting for so long to make sure that the reduction of nicotine intake in Nigeria is to the bare minimum. But if this bill, the amendment of this bill is allowed to pass, then that means all of their fights for yesteryears will become nothing because it contradicts everything that they have fought for in times past.
So how do you think this, I'm even concerned about the young people now, even if we are going to narrow it down, how do you think this will impact them, most especially young people who are used to tobacco intakes, who are used to vaping and are exposed to these acts?
Well, the truth about the matter, Lekwan, is that it's going to make the situation worse. It's going to aggravate the situation because now features like product sampling, we're talking about smaller packs and reduced health warnings may be what we'll be seeing. Now, imagine in this busy economy that we are in now, today's parenting doesn't really give enough room for parents to search their children properly. I remember when we were battling single sachet alcohol and the sale, and it was banned. That was the same issue we had with school children having to check their bags, their school bags, and then or their pockets, and then you see small packets of this sachet alcohol. It's the same thing that is going on now with the sale of nicotine. If this brand sampling is allowed, then that means we're going to be having, pocket sizes of this nicotine and e-cigarettes that will go unnoticed by parents and guardians and even teachers in school. So where does that leave, the future of the upcoming generation when it comes to nicotine intake in the country?
All right, no problem. We are going to just wait and see how the Nigerian government will react to this rejection of this particular tobacco, acts, and see probably there could be some sort of amendment of course, of this particular bill. Thank you so much, Bettina and Weli, for bringing the updates to us on the news. We move away from there now to talk security. 17 suspected bandits and 10 police officers have been killed in a gun battle between security personnel and armed men moving from Zamfara into Kebbi State. The clash occurred around the Rafin Makuku axis of Sakaba local government area, where police said 2 civilians were also killed. Kebbi police said the officers intercepted the heavily armed group and engaged them in a fierce exchange of gunfire. 4 motorcycles belonging to the attackers were reportedly burnt down in the encounter. The command said 2 officers were injured and receiving treatment as we speak, even as police have launched follow-up operations against fleeing suspects, while efforts are underway to support the families of the slain personnel. Still talking security, agents in Enugu State have arrested 3 suspected members of a kidnapping gang allegedly linked to August 2 attack on St. Joseph Catholic Church in Noyafa in Udi local government area. The suspects were arrested during an operation involving the DSS, Nigerian Army, the police, Enugu State's Forest Guard and other security personnel. 1 suspected kidnapper was killed during a gun battle, while 4 AK-47 rifles and ammunition were recovered. Reports say 2 of the 3 victims abducted during the attack have regained their freedom. And according to the Secretary to the State Government, Chidebere Onya, both victims identified the arrested suspects as those who abducted them. The government says investigations are ongoing. Now, 16 kidnapped victims have been rescued by joint security forces in Kogi State after a fierce gun battle with the abductors. The victims, including 2 personnel of the Federal Road Safety Corps, were rescued from their captors along the Itobe-Angba axis. The operation came at a cost, with the police confirming the death of 1 police officer and a vigilante personnel, while another police officer sustained gunshot wounds. News Central's Mono Balagubo brings us the details in this report.
16 kidnapped victims are back to safety after a joint security operation in Kogi State ended in a fierce gun battle with abductors. The victims were rescued directly from the custody of the kidnappers after security forces closed in on their location along the Itobe-Angba axis.
And the occupants were taken to the bush. Immediately, the command received the information about the incident. I directed the immediate mobilization of our tactical and intelligence assets to locate the abductors, track their movement, and rescue the victims. I am pleased to inform you today that all 15 abducted victims have been successfully rescued directly from their abductors.
The commissioner says several of the abductors were neutralized during the exchange of gunfire while others fled.
Unfortunately, 1 local vigilante personnel who supported the police operation was killed during the encounter, while 1 police officer sustained gunshot injuries.
And for those rescued, the sound of gunfire marked the final moments of a terrifying ordeal. They say their captors had demanded tens of millions of naira in ransom before the security forces eventually reached them.
They were telling us, you 100,000, you 100 million, you 70 million, you 50 million, the children 20 million. And I happened to be the one that collected every bit, like, but God came for the rescue.
But one of them that was chasing me got a knife to cut my head, like direct to my face. So I put one on my hand. That's when the cutlass landed here and it cut my vein.
As the rescued victims are moved to safety, the police say the operation will continue until those still at large are apprehended. The command is urging residents to remain vigilant and provide credible information to security agencies as it reaffirms its commitment to protecting lives and property and disrupting criminal activities across the state. In Kogi, the News Central, Morno Balagbubu.
Now, outside of Nigeria, at least 14 illegal miners have been killed inside a disused mine in South Africa, with police suspecting a rockfall may have caused the deaths. The incident occurred at an abandoned mine site where the victims were reportedly operating clandestinely. In a statement, police confirmed the deaths, while a spokesperson told newsmen that 8 other illegal miners sustained serious injuries. Authorities are expected to investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident, including what triggered the suspected rockfall. Illegal mining remains a major challenge in South Africa, with abandoned mines posing significant dangers to those working on the ground. In the meantime, South Africa is experiencing a rare winter spectacle, with heavy snowfall blanketing parts of the country and prompting a level 6 weather warning from the South African Weather Service. A cold front has brought snow to mountainous regions, while rain and freezing conditions are creating hazardous driving conditions in affected areas. News Central's Bongani Siziba reports. Well, of course, instead of talking to our correspondent, Bongani Siziba, let's hear from the horse's mouth. That is Tokelo Chilwani, who is a weather forecaster at the South African Weather Service. Thank you so much, Tokelo, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what is the current severity of the snowstorm affecting South Africa, particularly in the Eastern Cape?
Currently, we've seen that the snow is blanketed almost half of the mountainous areas over that area. We are looking at different mountain passes which have been closed as of yesterday, but the disaster management and the local authorities in that region have cleared or opened some passes over there. The biggest issue in that area is that the Eastern Cape, or the roads which are affected, are one of the roads that trade happens through them. So you can imagine the number of cars, the number of trucks which are stuck on that road because of the snow.
So for these residents and local communities in and around the area, how is the severe snow disrupting life and essential services that should be available to them?
Currently, we haven't gotten any reports of any essential services being disrupted due to the snow, because as South African Weather Service, we anticipated the snow to be heavy ahead of time, and we were in communication with the authorities on that region so that they can prepare. And so far, we haven't received any reports of any fatalities or any disruption. However, that area is prone to farmers who are raising small animals, so I believe that the grazing waste method that they use can be compromised due to the snow.
All right, Tokelo Chilwani, thank you so much for sharing the updates with us. We appreciate your time. Moving on now, at least over 130 people have been killed and 570 others injured after a powerful 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck Western Colombia as emergency and rescue teams raced to rescue people trapped under the rubble. The Colombian Association of Capital Cities says the earthquake is the strongest recorded in this country in the past decade. The epicenter was in San Jose del Palma, about 150 miles west of Bogota, with the tremor strongly felt in the capital, where residents rushed into the streets. Rescue teams are searching collapsed buildings, including parts of a hospital in Cali, where pediatric and neonatal sections were damaged. The government has declared a national disaster and deployed military personnel to support rescue operations. We are joined by News Central senior correspondent Afia Hagen, who will be sharing some updates with us on this. Afia, first, I want you to bring us up to date. More than 100 people are said to be dead, with thousands reported missing. What's the latest from the rescue operation in that area?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The death toll, unfortunately, expected to rise as rescuers are trying to go through the many, many buildings that have collapsed already. So the death toll is at least 164. That's up 111 from last night. Reuters reporting that 85 people have been killed in Cali, 66 in Pereira, and 13 in Shoko, a largely rural place close to the epicenter. Now, rescue operations have continued through tonight into today, with firefighters, soldiers, police, and specialist teams doing their best to try and go through the rubble, through collapsed buildings. Now, 6 of the international airports in the area, or 6 airports in the area, have been closed because of the damage to them. So that makes it really difficult for more equipment to be able to be flown into the country, as well as aid. Now, Cali is emerging as one place. It's a serious area of concern. There was a hospital that has collapsed there, including floors that are used for pediatric care. Patients trapped in there, and around 600 patients being treated outside in the street because of sections of the hospital that were no longer considered safe. 2,700 people reported missing at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean that 2,700 people are trapped under the rubble, but that's 2,700 people that are unaccounted for. This period, the first 24 to 48 hours after the quake, is absolutely critical. It remains a search and rescue operation at the moment, but that may change as the hours go on.
This is pretty sad looking at the numbers, but then Afia, this is Colombia's strongest earthquake this century, according to reports. But then why is the country so vulnerable to major earthquakes like this? And why do officials hope that these might probably be the deadliest in recent disasters that have happened, even if you compare it to the one that happened in Venezuela?
So Colombia sits at an exceptionally complicated seismic neighborhood, which I'll try and break down. So along its Pacific side, you have the Nazca tectonic plate, which is being forced beneath the South American plate, while the Caribbean plate also interacts with the northern part of Colombia. So that convergence borders on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and that's responsible for much of the earthquake activity and volcanic activity also along the Andes. So Colombia's Geological Service has documented that the Nazca plate beneath South America is a main source of the country's seismic activity. This particular earthquake was very powerful, magnitude 7.4. But one particular factor is how deep it went. So the US Geological Survey puts it roughly 107 kilometers below the surface. So an earthquake that is that deep means it will be felt over a much bigger, much larger geographical area, which is why the shaking was reported up hundreds of kilometers away from the epicenter. Venezuela, you mentioned there's one critical difference with the earthquake in Venezuela that struck in June. That was 2 earthquakes, a 7.2 and a 7.5, just 39 seconds apart, but they were at a much shallow depth of 28 kilometers rather than the earthquake in Colombia, which is around 107 kilometers. So it's the placement of Colombia and Venezuela along these tectonic plates, where at the moment there is a lot of seismic activity.
I'm just looking at the footage and I've got my heart in my mouth. But then, can we actually fight nature? We pray for strength for Colombians in these trying times. Afia, again, thank you so much for sharing the details with us. Let's do a short break on the 12 reports. When we're back, we'll bring you the rest of the stories. 12 report today. Don't forget that you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen. While you follow us on social media, we are at News Central TV. And of course, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.